Good morning, everyone. Welcome to International Women's Day. And I think it's fair to say that some people might say, oh, you know, we're all equal now, aren't we? We are absolutely not. There are still huge gaps out there in terms of pay, in terms of opportunities, in terms of how women are treated in different parts of the world, including, I would suggest, still in the UK. So still lots to do. We're going to hear about some inspirational women that have inspired some of our staff today. And we're going to have events across the day. So welcome. We're breaking the bias. Have a great day.
I will try to influence others' beliefs and actions by challenging outdated, misogynistic, and patriarchal language, ideas, and attitudes that either intend to silence or diminish the female voice. Break the bias.
This International Women's Day, I pledge to break the bias against female inequality by firstly continuing to highlight the amazing work done by female sociologists through the sociology curriculum. And secondly, I pledge to break down the bias by encouraging all of the young women that I work with to challenge any stereotypes held for them and to break through the glass ceilings that exist within society.
This year's International Women's Day looks at breaking the bias. And someone who has broken over 300 years of male domination is the poet Carol Ann Duffy. She was appointed Poet Laureate in 2009, and she was the first woman poet ever to hold this post. Through her work, she challenges gender stereotypes. She gives voice to women who have been overlooked in history and mythology, giving them the opportunity to tell their side of the story.
A world free of bias means that we can reach the higher levels of a diverse, equal world by connecting all those wires. Wires that have an electric current running through them allows us to be those positively charged particles. And we, together, are going to break the bias so that we forever will no longer fear fighting for better. There is a bias to be broken. My dream of an equal world is what I have awoken from, and I know that it's something that can become true. As the world is a living photograph, saturated with diversity and hues. I march and I strive, with my head held high, as a woman, and us women will not be pinned down nor weighed down by anything, no matter how hard that anything tries. We all have different stories. We take each day as it comes, by painting the picture, by writing the literature, to be shared with the world. We will choose to challenge, and we will break the bias. And find strength and pump our tyres and drive down the open road by taking the steering wheel. We'll rise up from our heels until it is love, confidence and everything positive that we feel, and until our stories are revealed to the world. Because this is us. We're born to be leaders and born to be great. So let's continue to create our stories in a world where we no longer fear fighting for better.
I will challenge gender stereotypes, discrimination and bias.
The woman who's inspired me this year is Sharon Graham. Sharon was elected General Secretary of the second largest trade union in Britain, commanding many male members and leading them into strike action against low pay. Sharon has always stood up against people in power and never dropped her guard, and that's why she has inspired me.
I hope to break the bias in my classroom by critically challenging the presentation of women in literature and by encouraging open dialogue and discussion about women's roles in the texts that we study and therefore in the wider world.
The woman who has inspired me is Professor Alice Roberts, Professor of Anatomy, broadcaster, archaeologist, and best of all, she is the chair of Humanist UK. Constant voice in support of women in all of those fields. She's incredible. Please go and check her out on TV and in your bookshop.
International Women's Day takes place every year on the 8th of March. This special day is a chance to celebrate the achievements of women, as well as ways that we can all work together to make the world a better, fairer place for everyone. The first International Women's Day was held in 1911, following earlier events in the United States. At this time, many women across the world didn't have the same rights as men, such as being able to vote or work. Although things have changed since those days, there are lots of times where women are still treated badly and not given the same opportunities. This is why International Women's Day is so important, as it gives people a chance to let their voices be heard and to celebrate and challenge. This year, in 2022, the theme of International Women's Day is Break the Bias. What does bias mean? Well, bias is where an idea is preferred to another, and another idea doesn't get a fair chance. Gender bias is where someone of a different gender is treated unfairly. So, this year, people of all genders are being encouraged to #BreakTheBias and make sure that people know when others are not being given the same opportunities. This International Women's Day, you can play your part in lots of different ways. You could learn about the work of women in history and the present day. The Twinkle Homework Help area is packed with facts about significant women in history. There's also a page dedicated to International Women's Day that is full of activities you can try. You could also learn about the suffragette movement, which campaigned for women's rights to vote. You could also talk to women in your life, from family members to friends to teachers. Why not try writing about how they inspire you? This International Women's Day, make sure you break the bias and celebrate the incredible achievements of women across the world.
I will celebrate women's achievements.
I forge ahead for women and gender equality, and I want to share with you a woman of inspiration in art. Her name is Yayoi Kusama, and her work mainly focuses on polka dots. She's my woman of inspiration because she's also been very vocal and open in talking about her mental illness, which she suffered as a child through to adulthood. She's going to be 93 this year, and this is a quote from her. She said that art has become her way to express her mental problems, and also that I fight pain, anxiety and fear every day, and the only method I've found that relieve my illness is to keep creating art. I followed the thread of art and somehow discovered a path that would allow me to live. #BreakTheBias.
I will maintain a gender equal mindset.
I will break the bias against female inequality in PE by having as much talk about female role models in sports. For me, a woman of inspiration in sports is someone who can challenge themselves just like a man can. And there are thousands of them out there.
The woman who inspires me is Mallory Blackman. She's written so many amazing books, and Year 8 students are going to be studying her noughts and crosses after the Easter holidays. She's really impressive and a fantastic writer.
This International Women's Day, I pledge to break the bias against women by highlighting the powerful actions that women have taken throughout history, and also emphasising the leading role that women play in the field of history academically. And in this way, hope to inspire and empower those young women that I work with.
On International Women's Day, I would like to salute all the writers who seek to empower young women through their fiction. So there's absolutely loads of them, but today I'm going to thank Tiffany Jackson, Holly Bourne, Louise O'Neill and Elizabeth Acevedo. Thank you.
Hello, for International Women's Day, I'd like to talk to you about Louise Bourgeois, one of my favourite artists that I was always inspired by while I was studying art at university. Louise Bourgeois, she worked from 1930s to 2010 and worked on large-scale installation work and sculptural work. I think one of the main reasons why Louise inspired me so much was because she challenged the role of domesticity, male and female roles in society, and kind of gender, kind of questioning gender and her role as a woman, and producing very strong, dominant sculptures that really take up rooms and take up exhibition spaces wherever they are. You can see Louise's Bourgeois' work in the Haworth Gallery at the moment in Tate Modern, so I do highly recommend you go and see the work and actually experience what she does try to express within her large-scale sculptures. Her work is often seen as surrealist or feminist, but actually she's never really associated herself with any particular movement. But you can certainly see a very strong feminist theme coming through in what she's trying to express. Highly recommend it.